What up, my people? Yup, it's that time. Back by popular demand, y'all have been hitting me up like crazy for this story. I've been meaning to tell it for the last couple weeks. Well, it's here. This is the legend of the navigator who crossed the ice walls, part 3. And if you happen to miss the first two, I'm going to post the links to part 1 and part 2 in the bio, but a quick overview. The story starts in late 1776, shortly after we won the Revolutionary War against Great Britain, focused around a group of men that fought for the Continental Navy. Throughout the war, while sailing the seas, the men would get bored, so they would tell each other stories. Well, one of the soldiers in particular, Captain Butler, told of lands that he thought may exist beyond the ice wall. Everybody had stories, but his in particular were rather intriguing to one gentleman named William Morris. So after the war, William Morris is presented the opportunity to buy the Navy ship that they fought on. After talking with the group, they decide, why not? They're going to go on an epic adventure to find these lands that supposedly exist beyond the ice wall. These are the maps referred to throughout the story. They leave Charleston, South Carolina, and set sail, sailing all the way around South America. And they eventually get here, to the William Morris Straits. Their timing is perfect as they left that fall, so now it is early spring, summer, the ice melts, leaving this gate open, and they flow through it to the other side of the ice wall. Once there, it doesn't take long for the action to start. A massive ship approaches them. It happens to be people that look just like us. They greet them. At first, they intimidate them, then they greet them, and they tell them to head to the ancestral lands, which are here. Upon arriving there, William Morris is presented an opportunity to talk to the president of the Ancestral Republic. They go there, everything's pure, everything's peace, everything's silence, everybody lives on an equal plane, nobody's better than anybody else. It's perfect harmony. That was, of course, until William Morris talked to the president and found out that they were people that actually escaped from inside the ice wall from a said reboot or reset. And that's pretty much where we left off last time, as the president began talking about these said reboots. Now, keep in mind, this is a tale of fiction. It is not to be taken literally, so viewer discretion advised. As always, y'all know the drill. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not presenting this as absolute fact, as it is a fictional tale. Nevertheless, it's a good story, it's intriguing, and full of excitement. So sit back, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the show. A reboot? What do you mean? Said William Morris to the president, President Fail. Well, let me put it this way, Mr. Morris. We of the Ancestral Republic are actually considered old humanity. We're from old times. Mr. Morris just kind of stares in confusion, pretending to understand, but really, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. See, Mr. Morris, I really don't have enough time to thoroughly explain everything, so forgive me if I miss some points, but we're going to go over this quickly. As times are tense and extreme, a war that's usually watched from afar is actually now on our back doorstep. But let me put it plainly. We aren't from the last reboot process, as there has been thousands since ours. Alright, hold on. Please explain this reboot. And you're part of what? Ancient humanity? I'm lost. It doesn't make any sense. Mr. President, as much as I'd love to say that I'm keeping up with you and completely understand what you're talking about, the truth is I don't. What's this ancient humanity, and how many humanities have there been? There's been many humanities at many different times, as well as many reboots and resets. These are set dates or predetermined times often as to when these resets will take place. The only reason it's done before these set times is under certain special circumstances. In other words, these are intentionally created. Okay, said Mr. Morris. Now, please define said reboot. The president gets quiet for a second, then states, the reboot is a process they carry out in your lands. It can sometimes come in plagues, pests, wars, bombs, meteors, you name it. In fact, it could be all of those combined. You never know. Mr. Morris suddenly got dizzy and white as a ghost. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was absolutely mind blown. I'm sorry to break it to you like that, William, but I've got stuff I've got to do. "Please take care of him," he said to an agent, and the president went off into his building. Mr. Morris headed back to the boat to let the guys know what he had just found out. After getting back to the boat and breaking it to the team, of course, they had numerous questions as well, and they were absolutely dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Oddly enough, they all kind of went their separate ways on the boat and sat in silence. The old humanity? They carried this all out intentionally? Who could be capable of such things? Mr. Morris thought to himself. As Mr. Morris was pondering this thought, a deafening sound emanated from the skies above. A large explosion went off in the water near the boat. Boom! They hit the deck instantly. The waves jostled the boat as if it was a piece of paper. Bombs going off all around them. The entire team hits the deck, waiting for the worst. "Let's go, let's go," Mr. Morris says. The team gets up. They run up to see the cityscape. Everything is flattened. It looked as though it had been war-torn for decades. The only evidence that it wasn't was the fact that there were bodies lying everywhere. The men didn't understand what was happening. They had never seen such weaponry. It was much more advanced than anything they had back home. People were screaming, and an alarm was now activated throughout the city. There was a gentleman running around trying to calm everybody down. All Mr. Morris knew was they had to get off that deck. So they started making their way towards town when the guy trying to calm everybody told them to head to the president's office. So there they went. As they made their way, they tried to help as many people as they could. It was like nothing the Navy men had ever witnessed. Much more gruesome than anything in the Revolutionary War. They made their way past their brothers and sisters. They felt a connection with them. They felt for them. They wanted to help them. And anguish and anger fell over them as they saw innocent people die that day. And they watched the skies as small spheres with red lights darted around, dropping these massive bombs. They finally got to the president's office and were to safety. Mr. Morris looked up to the sky, begging for mercy, but it was a dark, reddish tone. As he glanced at the sun, it didn't hurt his eyes. It was much lighter. He then noticed that the moon was almost black. The odd spheres moved in all directions, faster than anything he had ever seen. They were so fast, it was almost as if they disappear for a second, then reappear. There was no order to their fighting. The president's building was full of wounded from corner to corner. Thousands died that day. William set out to look for Butler and the president. Morris wandered the entirety of the presidential building before he finally found Butler and the president. It was the first time that he had seen anguish on the president's face, and this concerned him. Morris yelled out loud to Captain Butler. Butler salutes, and the president still has a look of anguish on his face. He walks up, salutes President Fowl, and offers his duty. The president refuses as he looks absolutely stressed. He proceeds to try and ask the president questions, but realizes he's actually having a heated conversation in a small microphone. And that's when Butler states, "We need the support of the Anakim. This attack was strategically planned. There's no going back now. We must go to war." Morris looks at Butler and states, "The Anakim? Are they?" "Yes, the giants. The Anakim are the giant warriors of the South, and they are the ones who liberated all those on the Ancestral Republic." Well, how did they liberate them? Well, they saved them from one of the Great Resets. According to the book, at a certain point in history, the oppressors of humanity were actually occupied with another war. This allowed for the Anakim to sneak in and help us. They taught us of more advanced technology, how to build pyramids, etc. And what's funny, just based on this book, even though it's a fictional account, it made me think, well, maybe that's kind of how it went. Maybe there is a faction that helps humanity with the pyramids, like giants. It makes sense. Back to the story. Captain Butler tells Morris to get some rest, that he'll need it because they're going to embark on a journey to the island of the Anakim, that he'll go round up the team and be ready. It's going to be a unique trip, to say the least. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that video. There you go. Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall, Part 3, and it continues on. Either way, this story is really cool, really fascinating. I enjoy it thoroughly. So I'm going to finish it up quicker. I know I always say that, but I really am going to finish this one up quicker. I'm going to start posting probably 4 and 5 here within the week. I'm definitely not going to leave as long of a gap as I did last time. That's too long. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. Stay in the love, stay in the light.